Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Drama Surgery podcast. And in this episode, I'm going to be covering the currently airing Korean drama titled Tempest. This is a 9-episode drama, and as of the time of this recording, only 3 of the 9 episodes have aired, and I have watched all 3. For those who don't know anything about this drama, basically, it follows Moonju, who is a diplomat and a former ambassador to the United States. She's obviously well liked in the international community, well respected because of her fight for human rights, and so that is her primary occupation, right? She's married to Jun Ji Hyun, who is a candidate for the South Korean presidential election. And so she has had to leave her job and just be by his side, as a lot of wives of these candidates have to do. It's important to note that Jun Ji Hyun comes from a Chaebol family. He's a second generation Chaebol. But yeah, very early on in Jun Ji Hyun's election campaign, he is assassinated, right? And the obvious reason why the killer seems to have done it is that he was against the reunification of the two Korean countries. But as Moonju, digs deeper into this, she realizes that there's actually more to it, and it seems that South Korea is about to be caught in a kind of proxy war between North Korea and the United States, and it's going to basically decimate a lot of South Korea and North Korea, right? And so, as you can expect, somebody that is a human rights activist that is always trying to be on the right side of history, she sees how the current president is deciding to tackle this, and she is not impressed. And it is within this that she decides that, okay, she is going to run for president and kind of solve this in another way. Meanwhile, we have Sano, who is an elite mercenary, right? And so he's one of those Black Ops kind of characters, right? You can tell they are military trained, they live in the shadows, and they basically do the unthinkable, right? And these two become entangled, right? Because for some reason somebody has tasked Sano to protect Moonju, right? And so these two become kind of intertwined, and that's kind of where we're at, right? As we watch basically Moonju run for president and have Sano be a protector. Now, this drama is featuring 2 of South Korea's biggest stars, Jun Ji Hyun and Kang Dong Won. If you don't know anything about this two, that actually makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Jun Ji Hyun is more well known in the Gen Z millennial world, because she has had multiple dramas, not back to back, but she does come and go up once in a while, and so she's quite well known, right? A lot of us will remember her from My Love from the Star, which was this one drama that she was really popularly known for, and before that she had My Sassy Girl, so she's quite well known. Now Kang Dong Won is more obscure, even though he's considered one of the biggest names in the South Korean entertainment industry, right? He has, I think, one of the most popular dramas under his belt, right? But I will say that he is not someone that acts in dramas, right? He is just, it doesn't do it. So I think this is his first drama in over a decade, if not more, right? And so that kind of gives you it's a testament to probably how good this drama will be. And I have to say, so far I am enjoying this. It is well done, and it's nice to see just mature people be the focus of a drama, right? So a lot of the things are on a different level than if you were watching a rom-com, or even an idol drama that is pretending to be serious. To an extent, this feels serious because it's a lot of mature people that are playing the roles here. Now, why I decided to watch this drama, I will say that Jun Ji Hyun is a pull for me anytime. She's very easily it's easy to watch her. She does not ever disappoint in what she chooses to act in, and so I was going to check it out, and just knowing Kang Dong Won is also in this, I was curious to see why he chose this drama, right? And this is not a long number of episodes. This drama only has 9 episodes. That's very, very small, and I don't know, maybe they will have it part 2 of this, and I expect it, because 9 is just, it's very, very small, even for Western Korean dramas, right? 12 is usually a better number, but 9 is really, really small, so they might do a part 2. Now, onto the actual drama itself. From the very beginning, it's very obvious to us that Munju is someone that, like, she knows who she is. She is confident in herself, and I think that is her, like a selling point, right? That is why people like her. That is why her husband, for example, loves her. And you get the scene where, for example, her mother-in-law is talking about how her son decided it was gonna be her, like it was gonna be Munju. And for her, the mother-in-law, she did not like Munju because Munju was like very cold and all these things that it's not typical of, like, should I say women, right? Should I say people that are married into these Chebo families, so she was very different, and that's just our, like, strength, right? And again, the mother-in-law mentions that she has a way of, like, getting people on her side, right? That no one knows how she does it, but she's able to. And that's partly why she's able to take up her husband's mantle and try and fix something that she thinks is a problem, right? And so Munju is, like, very clear-headed. I like her character. She's actually very well written. I like characters that are just, like, stoic, like they are cold, they are not easily frazzled, right? Even when she has a bomb planted under her seat, like, this girl barely flinches. Like, yes, you can tell she's visibly, like, shaken by this, but generally she's still, like, stoic in that, right? And so I just like how she comes up across, and I am very curious to see her journey to this and if she's going to be able to make it to presidency. Meanwhile, Sano, the male lead, I would say is actually very similar to Munju. And I can say that some of the experiences, even though it's not similar in any way because of kind of what Sano has gone through as just being a mercenary, which is, like, a very, like, terrible job, right? I would say that there's just something about the way the two of them were brought up that you can tell they have a more grounded look to things, and they are also, like, very morally conscious. I don't know how to explain it, right? And while Sano's own is something that he seems to be gaining, right? This morality or sense of morality and sense of duty, sense of loyalty, it's something that Munju has a lot of, right? And so it's interesting to see how these two play on each other, given that Munju is more of that loyal person, and she's loyal to her husband, loyal to her country, and all that thing, right? And Sano is just like, he's kind of a child of no nation, and so to see how he's, like, slowly becoming someone that cares about things, and he cares about South Korea enough to decide to stay and maybe try and help Munju. Also, I think he just likes Munju as a person, right? And that's not to say that, like, there's no romantic undertones to this, because I feel like there is. They don't play it up, which I like, actually. Like, I like when it's, like, just minor, and you can tell this is one of those dramas where the plot is the story, not the romance, right? Like, it's a secondary thing to the story, right? And there's something about dramas that do that. Somehow the chemistry is just better between the leads when that happens, right? One of the most, like, intense scene again is that bomb scene on the train, and how, like, we see Sano kind of move Munju out of this seat just so he can, like, take our place. And that whole thing was very sensual, actually. Like, there was a moment that I was like, oh, this is kind of, and so, yeah, there is those little moments. It's not, like, something that our characters even know is there, right? And it's not even something that the drama is trying to show us necessarily, but it's something that we see, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, especially given that she's literally running for president. She just lost her husband. I don't know, I just sense that, like, and this might be my only issue with this, is that I don't see how in a real world, and I guess again this is a drama, so maybe it doesn't really matter, but in real, like, life, someone like Sano would have, like, been investigated so much by Munju's opponents, right? Like, who he is, what he used to do. And I don't know, maybe that's common, like, for black ops and, like, people like that to become bodyguards. Maybe it's a thing, but, like, if I were, like, our opponent, I would definitely want to know who he is. And because he's also young looking like her, I would try and make it a thing. And so ideally, actually, someone like Sano should not be the one that is, like, her main bodyguard, because I feel like that will fuel rumors, and especially given the fact that she's banking on people's, like, emotions over the death of her husband and her being like a good wife and a loving person, and she's loyal, and that's why she's doing all this to see his vision to the end. To have someone like Sano be there is kind of like an X, right? Like it immediately kills that, because people will end up like trying to tie them together, right? And so I wonder if that's something that's gonna happen later on, right? But maybe not, because I think that a lot of the focus here too is a lot of the international like relations, right? We have other characters in this that are integral to the story, right? And so I'm curious to see how this will go, right? For now, I think one thing I'm curious about is who planted that bomb. They mentioned that the United States is obviously going to kind of know what she's doing. So I don't know if they are trying to hint that like it's the US that is kind of doing this, but I feel like the US does things like this in a more subtle way. I feel like they don't try and like immediately assassinate a candidate, right? They will like try and ruin the image of the candidate. That's more like their speed, I feel like, right? So trying to like manufacture that consent to like get people to see that this person is a good candidate, it makes more sense than trying to make them into a martyr by killing them, right? So I don't also know why they decided to kill Munju's husband, right? I wonder what it was. I mean, they mentioned that he was probably a spy for North Korea, and I'm curious about that and what that means. I'm also curious, about the submarine, right? I like things that have a kind of like grim outlook to it. Like I like things that you get a sense that if this isn't done, there is doom in the future, right? So there's a sense with the submarine that like Korea is done for, that is like South Korea and even North Korea, like just the combination when America gets involved, that they're like done for and they're gonna like just like lose a bunch of people, right, to this war. And so I'm very curious about how much like the submarine is going to play into this, and whether we'll actually get near that, or like whether the fact that Munju is like a like diplomat and she's good in negotiations and things like this, like ideally that's like the idea that she is good in these things, that she's able to kind of work this out. One thing I will say is that it's interesting because the current president of South Korea, seems to have the same idea of like trying to body up to the United States, and hopefully like they will be saved somehow in this. And Munju disagrees, but I don't know like on what basis she disagrees on this. Like what is her plan if she does get elected, right? How is it going to be different from the former one? Because I don't see how like telling the whole world that, there is a submarine that's heading for South Korea is going to like fix anything. It's just going to make people panic, right? And that even makes it worse for like reunification, because then even less and less people in South Korea will want that reunification, right? So I'm very curious about what her goal is in this, and also just like why her husband had to die for this, right? I mean, again, they say he's a spy, but I am curious because she's very adamant that he could not have been, right? So yeah, I'm curious about that. So I will say that this is like very well done so far. Like I'm enjoying the intrigue, right? The espionage, right? That is all within this, the politics of this whole thing, right? And seeing just how far she was to go with this. Again, she's very charismatic, right? And I am curious to see how that, and if that will like carry her through, right, the election and into the Blue House. So yeah, so far so good. Sano is obviously going to be someone that will just be a shadow throughout this whole thing. Like I feel like this is Munjo's story, and Sano is just going to be there to keep her safe. And I think it's like keeping her safe and trying to make sure she doesn't get killed that they're going to really fall in love. Because one thing I will say about Munju is that I'm not sure she loved her ex-husband. No, I shouldn't say that. She does love her ex-husband. It's not fair for me to say she doesn't. It's just that because of her personality, it doesn't seem that way. Just like the mother-in-law mentioned, that it's not obvious in that sense, right? So I'm curious to see what our relationship with like Sano is going to look like in future if they do fall in love, or if like they get to that point, because I wonder if it's going to be different from our relationship with her husband, right? Who like loved her very much, and obviously was very anxious about her safety and everything. So I'm just curious, and I actually think, and this is my theory, I think he's the one that is paying for Sano to like protect her. Or at least that was my theory initially, until like the person was like also report back to me on everything she does. Right. So I don't know. Because if he was like just her husband that, has this Swiss account that is going to keep giving him money and depositing money to him for protection for Munju, then there's no reason why like he would need to report back. So that's the only thing that makes my theory kind of go bust. But yeah, anyways, I'm curious to see how this will turn out, because I actually don't know, right? And yeah, it's just cool to see like a female centric drama that has a female protagonist that is in a place of power, that is not also like Mark Jang kind of thing. I don't know how to explain what I mean. So a lot of the times, so when you have this kind of dramas, it is never actually about the politics. It's more about like human relations and people sleeping with people, and it's the intrigue within, like it is the emotional and the romantic and that kind of affair kind of thing that matters in that world, as opposed to the actual politics that they are playing. So here I like how like you can see that everybody is serious about their job, and everybody like has their own motives for why they do things, and they're going to see that true, right? So it's not about anything else but the politics in this, and so I like to see that. And yeah, this is like so much fun. I am enjoying it so far, and I think that this is gonna come out really well, right? And I just hope that it's not just 9 episodes. I hope it's more than that, and we get another like part two. But yeah, that's really all I have for this episode. Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your week, and I'll see you guys again next week. Thank you. Bye.